Hello, my name is Logan Bick. I'm the Sundial Editor-in-Chief. I want to thank everyone today for joining us for a quick little Q&A on some of the updates on the coronavirus pandemic.
I'm Orlando. I'm the campus editor at the Sundial.
I'm Diane Harrison, president. I have the privilege of being president at Cal State University, Northridge.
We just wanted to see how you're doing on a personal level, sort of adapting to all the different changes. You're not necessarily in the office as much, and there's a lot going on. So how are you dealing with it all?
Well, I'm not in the office at all, because I'm in one of those age groups that is in the forced mandatory stay at home regardless. So I have become a Zoom expert. I'm really, really glad that my husband and I enjoy each other's company, because that's what we've been doing pretty much for the last several weeks since this whole lockdown started.
So what is the protocol when the university is made aware that a member of the CSUN community has tested positive for the virus?
We've established the practice of communicating with the campus community when there is health news that might affect CSUN students, faculty, or staff in any way. And we follow the very strict protocols that the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health has outlined for us. They have guidance and protocols. We also have to be cognizant of individuals' privacy, and particularly as it relates to their medical condition and maintaining confidentiality for individuals. But at the same time, letting campus know we've had this experience, and we've only had this once. And we were really attempting to be very transparent about what was happening at that time. And since then, the individual has recovered, and we're very happy about that. So our protocol is to follow what the Department of Public Health says we need to do, and then also to notify our campus that this is going on and what we're doing about it. You know, early on, the Department of Public Health was still involved in doing contact tracing, which means if somebody was symptomatic, they would literally find out where they had been and who they had been in contact with, and so on and so forth. When it got to a certain point that they were overwhelmed, they didn't have the staff to sufficiently do that kind of contact tracing for everybody who had tested positive. And so they started pushing some of that back out to the reporting agency. So in our case, for example, that is exactly what happened. The Department of Public Health directed our health center staff to do the kind of contact tracing that they might have done. And so that was all done. And we figured out where that individual had been on campus. We did deep cleaning for any place that that was necessary in that situation. And then we eventually closed that facility down.
Just kind of for the future, some universities are preparing for modified or change in the fall. Is CSUN preparing for anything along those lines for fall instruction? And if so, what does that kind of look like?
We have what we call a cross-functional team looking at the fall and what potential scenarios that we might engage in. Everything from continuing in a virtual world where we keep as low density as possible face-to-face contacts on campus, to maybe starting virtually, and then depending on what the data show us and what the public health officials tell us, what the mayor says, what the governor says, possibly moving into face-to-face later on in the semester. And then some kind of hybrid, like if it's possible. Again, all of this depends on what the guidance is and what the restrictions are at the time when we have to make these decisions. But that said, if it's possible to gradually phase in some of the smaller classes or face-to-face instruction, so everything's on the table. we're really looking at everything, and clearly it is our most extreme desire that we return back to face-to-face in the fall, if we can. And that if we can is a huge caveat, because we are not going to do anything that is going to jeopardize the health and safety of our students and our employees.
CSUN is set to receive a total of $44 million from the CARES Act, half of which is designated for support to students. What sort of system will be used to redirect that money to students, and what are the sort of things that will determine eligibility?
Okay. Half of that, as you say, will be directed to students, and we are currently working on finalizing the plans of our process, our distribution process. And basically what we're looking at is having a tiered system, if you will. So we look at the tiers are based on financial level of financial need. And to put it simply, high, medium, low. All right. So we have different types of need within our student population. We know that we want to have an online simple application. We know many of our students will qualify for this, but they're going to have to opt in to say, yes, I want to take advantage of this. Basically, if a student was receiving financial aid this year in any form, they probably are going to be eligible for some of these funds. We also want to make allowances for students who perhaps they didn't qualify for financial aid originally when our packages were put together, but in the interim, and because of this pandemic, their family situations have changed such that maybe the both parents lost jobs, or they lost their jobs. So they're in a different financial situation today than they were last September or even in January. So we want to make allowance for students who weren't eligible in the past for financial aid, but who also might have new financial needs at this time. Now, all of that said, we're planning to announce the details of our process, like what students have to do, and begin accepting applications very soon after. And hopefully we will be able to distribute these funds to students, and they will have them in their hands, literally, or in their bank accounts by early May.
All right, I have a question regarding some of CSUN's facilities. So Chancellor White said that there's a possibility that 8 CSU campuses were looking to support potential overflow for local hospitals. Is CSUN taking part in that, or what are some of those steps?
You know, all of the CSU campuses have offered one or more facilities, things like gymnasiums or empty residence halls for possible overflow for medical and health personnel. We have not been asked to use our facilities yet, so we're just sort of on hold. And so far, our hospitals have been able to not have this overflow yet, thank goodness, knock on wood. But as a state agency, we really feel like we have to do something to lean in to help the state if there was a need. But we have not been approached for that particular use thus far.
Okay, so some students are voicing their support for a partial refund on their tuition, citing that basically the quality of their education and as well as the access to some of the student services have been compromised. What do you say to these students, and has the university considered something along these lines?
The CSU position, the system position, is that right now, because we are offering and providing students with full academic credit for these courses, that and that's part of the California Ed Code, that we would not be providing any refund on tuition or what's called mandatory fees.
All right. What steps are being taken to ensure that students are still enrolling in the fall, especially with first-time freshmen and sort of transfer students?
Well, we're doing, we always do what's called outreach to prospective students. So once a student applies and is admitted, then we want to continue to maintain contact with them. So we're doing a lot more aggressive outreach right now for prospective students. Our new transfer students, I was just told yesterday, seem to be up, actually, interested in attending and wanting to come to CSUN, which is great news. We're still looking at the freshmen. They have a substantial number who have committed and said yes, they want to come to CSUN. So we will continue. It's really important right now, particularly in this virtual world, to maintain communication with those prospective students and make sure that they really will end up showing up or coming and taking classes. You know, I've said this a couple of times to people during meetings lately. This is the absolute worst time to drop out of school. This is the worst time to interrupt your education. And I say that because while the job market may not be that great right this second, it will improve, and it will mean, once again, that to do better, you're going to have a degree. And so that's what we really want. It's not just our prospective students, the new freshmen and the new transfers, but it's also our current students. We are really working hard, and we want every student who's here to stay here. Don't give up. Hang in there. We're here to help you. We really want you to succeed, and we want you to finish this semester, to graduate whenever that day comes for you. But so it's about communication. And so now we're looking at, how do we do our new student orientation virtually? Cross our fingers that it's just as good. And I have tremendous confidence in our staff. They're really looking at all of this and trying to take away what was the most valuable part, just say, of orientation that really made a difference for students, and make sure that that ingredient is also in the virtual experience that they have. So lots of communication, lots of planning, and really underscoring the importance of keeping students engaged and connected to campus.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this Q&A. We appreciate President Diane Harrison taking the time to address the campus and answer some of these questions. Tune in next week to see some more questions and answers from the Sundial. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.